Hey guys, this is Nick Christopher from Mob Tales. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Um, Today we got a very interesting guest. I'm very interested in interviewing this gentleman, Patty Malizia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He
Yeah,
has a long history that he's going to share with us. And even though a lot of the characters he mentions, I know who. I mean, I know who they were. Not not personally, but I know of them, and so which will be pretty cool. So Patty, I'm going to start with my first question would be in reference to this is you grew up around this world around the life since you were young, obviously. Now your dad
yes,
was involved, your uncle, a lot of your people in your family were involved in that world. Uh,
yes.
if Even though people have heard about this from other guys many times, um,
Uh-huh.
I'm sure everybody's got a different twist or a different story. Uh,
Okay.
Growing up in that world, with your father and uncles like John, um, and Joe, and your cousin Charlie,
Mhm.
and Chunk as well. Um, what Give us a little bit of a background on what it was like growing up under that umbrella.
To the brother, well, it goes back. Actually, I was born into this. I was born in 1966, in May of 66. I was born on Pleasant Avenue, born and raised. My father, I didn't know nothing because basically when in 1966, I was 6 months old. Okay, and we lived on Pleasant Avenue, 325 Pleasant Avenue. And I don't remember this, but my brother was telling me. And it was like right around Christmas. They tried to kidnap my father because back in the days they had to have all these guys running around and they were kidnapping all learners, pretty much like Carl Gambino's nephew, right? He got snatched, they killed him. So they came after my father, and my father got away from them, which it's a story I'll tell you later. And we went to Jersey, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And we bought a house in Jersey. It was on like an acre of land, but it was a real shack. And my father started building it because in '64 he became a millionaire. So they just started building this house with everything. And I'm a kid, I just remember walking around with all this construction going on, And little by little, the house was coming together, you know. And then the only thing I remember pretty much later on, I was a little kid, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And the only thing I remember was I could remember my father bringing me in the car and he would take me and we would go into the city and he would go and make all these pickups, you know? Go over here and he would go like to the store here, go all over the place. I didn't know what he was doing. And he would bring me out. I'm walking around and all these guys, hey, how are you? They're sticking $20 in my pocket and stuff. So basically, I was just like, that's what stuck in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, my father would go and he'd be gone for 2, 3 days at a time. I asked my mother, where's daddy? And she would say, oh, he's working. He's working, you know? So basically, that's when I was a kid. So not until later, I really found out what was going on, you know?
Well, would you
So,
at that time when your dad was driving you around? I mean,
yeah.
like you said, you didn't know exactly what was going on. Um, did you feel like it was, indirectly trying to groom you for that lifestyle, or no?
No, no, not really. He just like my mother would say to him, take your son with you. Because between me and my brother, right, there was an 11 and a half year difference, because my father was away and my brother kept saying, I want a brother. I want a brother. I don't want to be an only child. So when he came home, he did basically, he goes all the way back from the war years, what happened with him, but basically when he came home, he went away in 57 for this 1957 for the That was his first jump things in 1957. Let's put it that way. Anyway, him and my uncle, they got 10 years. My father got 10 years, my uncle got 9 years, and they brought them to Atlanta. And I remember my brother telling me when he was a kid, because my brother was only 3 years old when he left. And my brother remembers my mother and him going to Atlanta. They would go on this two-engine plane and go down to Atlanta, and visit my father, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he kept saying, even when he was there, I want a brother. I don't want to be a lonely child. So when my father came home, he did all these things. He became a millionaire before I was born, you know. So in 66, I was born. Me and my brother were 11 and a half years apart. So basically, I don't think he was grooming me. He was just taking me, like my mother would say, because he wasn't around that much. So my mother would say, take your son, because you're always not around. Take him with you. But he wasn't taking on if he was going to make a move or anything. I was going to get money, going to see people left and right. So that's basically that part. No, I don't think he was grooming me. I was a kid, Nick. I was a baby, man. I was like, because this is all in the late 60s, early 70s, because in 71, and Bateman came down, and him and my uncle had to take off my younger uncle, and that's when they were on the land in the 70s. And that's when we left Jersey, because every weekend we used to go back and forth to the city, into East Harlem, because they all had my father had his brothers living there. My mother had a couple of her sisters. So we used to go back and forth. Then we moved to Long Beach, Long Island. We had a house out there already, a bungalow, but it had heat in it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when my father took off, we had to get out of there. My mother didn't want to stay in Jersey because she hated it. And we went to Long Beach and Long Island. And then we used to make trips back and forth into the city,
Right.
all the time.
So your dad was with the Lucchese family, am I correct?
No, he was with Fat Tony. Fat Tony was his man.
Oh, okay. All right. So the Genovese then.
Yeah, Johnny, yeah.
Yeah.
Fat Tony was his man. Everybody, what they say, Fat Tony didn't want nothing to do with the jump. But my father used to go around like on the holidays, go see Tony and okay, but he was under his protection.
Right. Okay. All right. So your dad operated in Harlem, I guess, Pleasant
Yeah,
Avenue area.
Pleasant Air,
Right.
Pleasant Avenue.
Well, Pleasant Avenue was I know it was a very famous street,
Yeah,
and a lot of the heroin dealers were big time over there.
yeah,
Then and your I think it was your cousin or your uncle, if I remember correctly. The cousin, yeah, Londino, uh,
yeah. Londoni,
Charlie,
Chris.
right? And so Charlie and Chris, right? If I'm correct.
No, Mikey and Chris. Mikey was his younger brother, the one that got killed. They raided his house with a no-knock warrant, and he thought they were coming to kidnap him. And he started shooting at them, and they killed him.
Oh wow, okay. Well, how many? So those cousins that you mentioned earlier, that just mentioned now, were you tight with them? Did you know them well?
Yeah, very
Oh,
well.
oh,
They were on my mother's side.
right.
Chris and Mikey were on my mother's side. That was my mother's sister's grandchildren. You know,
Okay. So I mean, how tight were you with them? Did you run around with
very
them?
tight.
Did you?
Very. I was more tight with Chris. Mikey was working after a while. Mikey used to work for ABC Studios before all this shit. He used to work on the View. He used to move all the furniture and everything.
Oh, so he was legit.
He was legit until he used to hunt a lot. And when he was hunting one time, he was 15 years old and he got bit by a tick and he contracted Lyme disease.
Oh shit.
And ever since that happened, Nick, his whole outlook changed. Like, he could go back to work because he was catching these fits, so they gave him disability because he couldn't do it.
Hmm.
And then he started hooking up with everyone. He was with Ralphie Balsamo from the Genovese crew up in
Okay.
the Bronx,
Right.
you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that they didn't get into that. When I was a kid, they always were very interested. They used to ask me, what's this? What's my father, this and that, and I would tell them what was going on, Like they were all like, have you heard the term wise guy home?
Yeah.
All right, that's what they want, you know. I would tell them, what do you want that shit for? My cousin Chris, he was whatever you call it, with the air conditioning, the refrigeration and air conditioning. He had a great job. He had his own business and everything. And I tell him, what do you want this for? It's not for you, I used to tell him. It's not for you. And he went around and everything, and he wound up getting with the Lucchese's because of my father and my uncles, Matty the Don, you know,
Right. So they were with, well, Charlie, I think it's Charlie or Chris. Uh,
Chris, Chris,
yeah, Chris, Londino and
Londonia.
Londonio, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. He was with Steve Crea and Matthew Madonna.
Yeah,
He's with
yeah,
that crew. And
yeah,
he was, if I remember correctly, he was part of the Meldish murder.
yeah, yeah, allegedly, yeah.
Can you get, what was he really involved in that, or was he, like I know Steve Crea to this day, and he was always denying anything to do.
Yeah.
And from what I heard and what I understand, some of it is kind of true that Steve Crea really wasn't involved in that murder. So
I really don't know.
what is your
Yeah, I
take on
guess.
it?
What is what?
What is your take on that?
Really something I couldn't tell you that because I remember we were very tight. I used to go up there once a week and go see Chris. We used to go for breakfast and everything. Then he started literally by literally started moving away. And I used to call him up and I said, yo, what the fuck's going on, man? Oh, I'm busy, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I got work. And little by little he started drifting away until later on, then that thing happened, allegedly happened. So I was in the hospital. I broke my neck. And I remember my brother coming to me and telling me Chris got pinched from Michael Melvis's murder. I was like, what? You know? And I was like, are you fucking? He goes, no, I'm serious. And all this shit, because he kept moving away. And like I said, every week I used to see him, and then I wasn't seeing him like every other week I was seeing him. I knew something was going on. But he was very quiet about it. He wouldn't even talk to me or my brother about it. That's how quiet he was.
But was he was so he was made at that time?
He actually, what I told you, when I was in the hospital, I was away for about 2 months. And I remember it was the summer of 2014 in July. And my mother had a big get together at the house. And they all came over and everything. And I remember my brother was talking to him, and they were outside talking and everything. And he said to Chris, he goes, I heard you got made. And he didn't say nothing. He just smiled. My brother's telling me all this shit. I said, you kidding me? But then later on, his father, Chris's father, we were talking with him, and he had said to me, and I was asking him a question. He goes, I remember that day. It was right after the Melvis murder. And he went to the father and he told the father, I got made. And the father was like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? And that's what he told him. That's what I heard allegedly. You know, he was 40 years old, they made him.
Because I remember the murder, Meldon's murder was in 2013. So you're saying
Yeah.
2014, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
it was November. I remember it to the day. It was November 15th because the next day was Chris's birthday. And that's when all that shit happened. And I remember me saying to him, I said, whatever happened, I said, could you do that before your fucking birthday? You know?
did you ever yourself happen to cross paths with Michael Meldish or no?
I knew Joey Moses. I never met Michael. I knew Joey Moses very well.
Oh, that's his brother, right?
The brother, Joey, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Crazy, the bull was crazy, but Joey was nuts. You know?
Because they were part of the Purple Gang, if I'm correct.
Purpose, yeah, yeah, exactly. Later on, like in the mid 70s through the 80s. Because you had two purple gangs. You had in the early 70s, you had the purples, which were like Matty Madonna, Danny Leo, all these guys, that were young, Fat Gigi and Blade, Johnny Echo. They were all the purples in the beginning. Then you have the purples later on with Michael and Joey Melvis and a bunch of other guys.
Right. Okay. You had a cousin also, Rich, who was pinched for killing William Terrell, if I'm correct.
Yeah, Goldfinger.
Goldfinger, right.
That
Um,
was in 78 when that happened. That was when basically my that was my Uncle Ernie's son, one of his sons. That's when my uncle got pinched. And see, in my family, they used to call it passing the apple down. So yeah, that's what it was. So when my uncle got pinched, gave it to his son. You know, you're gonna do it if you want to do it or not. You know,
mhm.
and that's what happened over there. The Goldfinger was going bad. He was ratting everybody out. Goldfinger. And basically, my cousin, they found out about it, and allegedly it was told to go get him, get rid of him. You know, and that's what happened.
But Richard, but Rich was Rich connected or no?
He knew people. His brother-in-law was, I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name was Carmine Dellacava. He's a captain with the Genovese. He was on the Windows case.
Hmm.
He was almost a billionaire, and that was his brother-in-law. You
Okay.
know, and he was hooked up with him, but they were making all kinds of money. You know, all
Okay.
kinds of money.
Um, what now? What was your experience in that lifestyle besides all your uncles?
Mine.
Now, how did you get mixed into it?
Basically, later on, now this is when my father was doing his bid from 1980 to 92. He got 20 years back in 1980. Before that, he was on the land for almost 10 years, 9 years, 9 months, and they finally caught him. Exactly when my father was coming home, like a year before, he would tell me, I'm coming home, things are going to be good again. And I used to tell him that this world has changed. And he's like, "Oh, it's me. Don't worry." I said, "I'm telling you, wait till you get home. You're gonna see what happened." So finally, when he came home in '92, he was on parole. He had 6.5 years on paper, and he'd be like, "I can't believe what's going on." He said, "We before I went in, the Italians had control of everything, and now it was starting to go out the window." But he wanted to do his thing, my father. And
Hmm.
he had all his fantasies. You can't do nothing bad. You're on parole. They're up your ass. So me and my brother stepped in for a couple of years, you know, and we did what we had to. Oh, thank God nothing happened. It was crazy going to meet this one. We were dealing with all the blacks from the West Side, the black dealers. So I put my ass out there to save my father so he wouldn't get violated, me and my brother. So that was my experience, and it was a hell of an experience. Made a lot of money and then blew a lot of money. You know?
Oh, so basically you were out there representing your dad, technically.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. But you personally were not made. So, but you
No,
were,
no, my father wasn't made. My father wasn't a made guy. They were all renegades. My father could have had it. They offered it to him several times, and he turned it down. So what do I gotta give these people my money for? Somebody is controlling me. I don't want it. You know, Tony offered it to him several times, but he didn't want it. You know,
But I'm sure he had to kick up anyway to operate. I'm sure.
yeah, well, he was giving Tony. You know,
Yeah. But in,
yeah,
but in '92, Tony was already away. He was
yeah, yeah,
so at
yeah.
that.
There was my father, exactly. My father, he was with his friend, this guy, Nicky Ferrat. He was just a little cage. He was a big junk dealer back in the day. Back in the day, him and my father heard of each other, but they never met each other. So they wound up meeting each other in federal prison. You know, so when Nikki came out, Nikki had a connection, and they started from there. You know,
So he
in
kept.
'92.
So your
Yeah,
dad.
right.
So your dad kept up the same business. Basically,
Yeah.
he didn't like alter it or anything.
No, he just kept. You know, that's all he knew. You know, and as long as some of these guys are still out there, he was gonna go with it. You know, that was his life. You know.
Well, I mean, I know around that time, a lot of things, like you were telling your dad, how much things
Mhm.
changed, especially
Yeah,
in '92. Especially after John Gotti went away and the whole thing.
yeah,
Like you said, it was starting to collapse to some degree,
yeah,
and
exactly.
you noticed this then, and you were
Of
explaining to
course.
your dad at the time. Now,
Yeah.
now it's 2024. Things, from then till now, if you were to give your opinion about that lifestyle, where do you think it's at this point? Do you think it's about to go out the door? Do you think it's
Yeah.
still surviving?
They're,
What is your opinion?
they're, I think they're underground. You know, they're building up. I've heard lately that they're making all these young guys in their 20s, in their 30s, they're making because all these guys are making big money in the stock market online. You know, I was like, Jesus Christ. You know, but they're smart. Like people say, uh, you think the mob would ever disappear and go away? No, it's always going to be there. You know, it was like the old saying, like if the world was destroyed, the only thing that's left would be cockroaches and whatever else, and the mob. They're still there. You're not going to kill it. Yeah, he's laughing. You're not going to kill it, but they're smart now. They're underground.
But
You
there's
know
a
what I'm
lot.
saying?
But yeah, that's true. But I believe that as well. But the emergence of so many different other ethnic groups, like
Well, yeah,
The Mexican cartel is tremendous. You
yeah,
know,
of course.
I don't think the traditional mob would even be able to compete against them. You know,
No,
so being the case, you said they're still going to be around. They're underground right now, but I'm sure you would agree they don't have the same level of power as, let's say, when your dad was first starting off. Obviously, big difference.
no, not at all. Not at all. You know, I mean, even though that's that, and even the way that's a smart move, so you underestimate them. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Because even times ago, the same shit happened. They thought they had them. You know, like when Giuliani with the Rico case. Oh, that's it. The mom's gone. They're not gone. They're just, they're festing on the ground. They're doing something to come back. You know, and I still believe in this day they're gonna make a comeback. It's gonna happen.
well, I want to come back to a story, a pretty funny story, really, about your cousin that tried to escape from prison,
Oh, forget it.
and he was too like,
That was
oh,
ridiculous.
uh,
That was ridiculous.
when you heard that, what was your first thought in your head?
I was like, are they fucking kidding me? Because his cousin's mother and father, right, and his estranged wife, they said that that his mother, my cousin, his mother is my first cousin, Chris is my second cousin. They said that my cousin Maureen, she was sneaking dental floss into me. When I heard that, I was like, are they kidding? And his mother, she's like a saint. She wouldn't do nothing like that, you know? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, are you kidding? Because even though if you looked in that article, right, between that, when he tried to escape and had a priest in on the article. Did you read about the priest?
No, I
Okay.
know about that. Yeah.
All right. But if you go back to where when my uncle escaped that time from West Street, there was a priest involved. And I'm laughing now. Now I'm laughing. I go, look at this. They even got a priest involved. I said, come on, these feds will say anything. They'll do anything. But for him, you know what they did to him that nobody really knows. My cousin Chris, they wanted him to flip so bad when he was in NBC with Matty Madonna and the rest of them. They took him out of NBC, right? And they brought him to Kennedy Airport. And in Kennedy Airport, they had this small little jail for all rats and cooperators. They threw him in there, and they put a fucking line out that he was cooperating. And he got all pissed off when his lawyer got him back. He had Charles Canisi, got his lawyer.
Hmm.
And Charles got him back and said to him, are you out of your fucking mind? You're going to get this guy killed. So he had to sit down with Matty and Steve. He had to straighten this all out. They thought he was talking. No, these motherfuckers are pulling fucking shenanigans. They're trying to get me to cooperate. He would never do that. But to do something like that to somebody is crazy. At the feds, you can see they'll do anything to get a conviction. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're right. That's definitely insane. Um,
Yeah.
I'm surprised you're now. Did he turn around and sue them? Because basically what they did was, I'm surprised the lawyer, surprised Charlie didn't, put up make a case about it, because
So yeah,
he's right.
I didn't even know about that. I didn't even think about that. But at that point, all the trouble that he was in, I didn't even think that was one of their options. There was one of their options to try to get him out or try to get him a good deal or something, you know. But they had on the table before they went to trial. All of them. They had a universal plea for all of them. I think it was 30 or 40 years. They had a universal plea. And all of them had to take, and Maddie and Steven refused it. So they went to trial, on that.
So
So they
Chris,
had a plea for
so Chris took a plea.
what?
Chris took the plea.
No, they couldn't plead because it was a universal plea. All four of them had to plead to the same charge.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
And Maddie and Steven said no, 40 years on a plea bargain. And they said no. My cousin was going to take it, but he couldn't take it because all of them had to take it.
Okay. Is Chris is still alive, correct?
Yeah, yeah, he's in right now. He's in Victorville, in California. FC, no, he's in a penitentiary. Excuse me.
Do you keep in contact with him at all?
I spoke to him in February. That prison's always get locked down for shit happening. Because his own mother was supposed to go see him twice. One time she was there in Vegas. She was gonna go with somebody else to drive there,
Mhm.
and she got lined that they locked the prison down. They didn't say nothing, and she had to come back home. And then the second time she was supposed to go visit him, it was last year in October. And the same shit happened. They locked it down, and then
Wow.
she couldn't go. You
Yeah.
know?
So they locked it down without notifying him.
No, they always do that. Then we think they're gonna notify you. You out of your mind?
Now,
Fuck, they don't care if you spend all kinds of money and go. They're gonna tell you, too bad.
that's fun. I know what you mean, because I went to see a good friend of mine, Nicky. He's from the Philly crew, and
Yeah,
he was under Stamper, John Stamper, and I went to visit. I went to visit him a couple of times. So I went to see Nicky, and when I went, I drove all the way from New York to PA, 'cause that's where he was in
yeah.
Allen. And when I got to
Where was he in Allenwood?
Allenwood, yeah,
Oh, okay.
and I went to visit him, and they turned me away. And I said,
Yeah.
why, what's the problem? It's because the name that Nicky wrote down on the guest list on the list
Yeah.
was was it was a different name that he put there. He put my company name, not my name, by accident.
Oh, so you
But it's,
didn't have enough ID, really.
it didn't matter. They said it was a different name. I said, "What are you talking about? Look, I'm showing the ID."
Yeah,
They said, "No, they wouldn't let me in. I drove 4 hours for nothing."
they don't give a shit.
No, they
You know how
don't.
many times? You know how many times we used to go down to F when my father was in MCC, right? These son of a bitches. They would go there, right? We would go in, they would process and everything. One day, right, we were smoking weed, right, in the car, and we were coming in, right? So we smoked a joint. So now they used to do this test. I don't know if you know about it. They take a pad, right? They put it on this machine and they tell you to put your palms up. And they
Yeah,
take the
yeah,
machine. You seen
yeah,
that, right?
yeah.
Me and my brother went in there and they put the thing on and it came up for marijuana. They wouldn't let us the fuck in. I said, are you fucking kidding me? Imagine that shit.
I
Thank
imagine.
God we drove from Long Beach into FCC. And thank God, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Oh, we can't do it. You know?
That doesn't surprise me. That's pretty funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll do anything. What's the worst part of that is, I forget me. I'm just a friend of Nikki, so it's different. But when family goes and they travel from far away, and they bust your balls like that, it's as bad for the family, but it's worse for the prisoner because how often does he see anybody? And then, he's waiting to see somebody, and then he's told they can't come in. It,
Yeah.
it's a psychological thing.
Yes. Yeah. They're not close, like they're all waiting, getting done up and everything.
Yeah, yeah, they get all, it was they do that sometimes purposely just to break him down. That's
It's
what
like balls,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, for sure. Now what is next for you, Patty? Are you looking to maybe do a book on your lifestyle or on your life and what you went through and stuff like that? Are you looking to do anything in any way in that form?
Yeah, well, basically, I'm gonna tell you a little story what happened. 20 years, no, 24 years ago, we went to Vegas, me and my brother, right? Moved to Vegas. I had a friend out there, he was a writer. Okay. So now I was always thinking about writing a book because right before my father went away for the last time in 2000, no, in 1999, him and my uncle got pinched. So I kept telling him, I said, Dad, let's do a book. And he was like, no, no, no. I kept bothering him so much. He was like, all right. You remember the little cassettes with the old Radio Shack thing? Okay. He was talking for like 8 hours his whole life and just kept talking and talking. So we had all these tapes. And when we went to Vegas, I had a friend of mine who was going to write it. He had all the tapes and everything. He started writing the book. And then we had to come back to New York. And then I lost contact with his phone and everything. And he probably died by now. Him and his wife, they were very sick. And I had all my tapes there with my father talking. And I had a whole bunch of albums with pictures going back into like the 40s and the 50s.
Oh,
You know?
wow.
Yeah. So ever since then, he started, but all the stuff must have died with him. I remember him showing me chapters and everything. It was just starting. But that's what after that I was like, I can't believe this. I lost all my shit, but thank God it's all here. No, I'm definitely interested.
So in other words, so where are all those tapes and the albums?
You know,
Oh
they
my
were
God.
him.
Are you serious?
That's what I swear to God. Swear to God.
That
And I
sucks.
yeah, it sucks. But thank God I got a pretty much photographic memory. I remember all this shit, Nick. I got a very good memory, and I remember all the stories my father used to tell.
Wow, that's interesting. So, your brother's still around too?
No, my brother passed away in 2023 of March. He
Oh,
caught
sorry
a
to
heart
hear that.
attack. I found him dead on the couch.
Oh, sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
Yeah, 69 years old.
Oh, that's too young. Um,
Too young.
yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. I
No, I'm saying,
lost my mother. Yeah, my mother died in 2020. And me and him came out here, out to New Mexico, where I am, because I have his kids are out here, my brother, and his six grandchildren. So we came out here, and he wound up dying. So now I'm not buying I'm buying myself living here, but I got my two nephews and my seven nephews and my three nieces. So I got people out here, you know.
Yeah, I would say.
Because
Uh,
it was a funny thing, right? When I was doing the show, I'm still doing the show. You ever hear Shooting the Dice on YouTube? It's a new
yeah, yeah,
show.
yeah.
The English guy from England, Rob. That's my partner. So we do one every week on a Monday. We were doing what I call a mobography, like a biography. I called it a mobography. So we did about three of them, but his mother's dying now. You know, so he's not doing them for a while. Probably going to start up again next month.
So you
You
were
know,
you're doing that with him.
yeah, yeah. I did. There's three episodes up there. There's one on Matty the horse, uh, Danny Pagano, which I knew him personally. Matty was a good friend of my father, and Joey Cupcakes, which I know for years. Crazy Joe.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's
You
that's
know Joe? You ever heard of Joey Cupcakes? You must have
yeah,
heard of
of
Joey
course.
Cupcakes.
Yes, of course.
Angelo, his father, was good friends with my father.
Oh wow. Okay. Now that's something that I want to leave the show with that. Now, where would people find that? Where can you give us a little bit of information where they can find?
Go to Shooting the Dice
Okay.
on YouTube. You see, you're shooting the dice with Rob May, MAW, like a month.
Uh-huh.
And just go into it and you'll see. He just started maybe 5 months ago. You'll go down, you'll see it because the picture of me on the front of the banner. It
Okay.
says My Biography Monday with Pasquale Malizia
Awesome.
on
Okay.
YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, awesome, brother. Well, listen, Pat, we have to like end the show, and I really appreciate you coming on. It was a lot of fun, and I definitely want to keep in touch. And uh,
Definitely.
and if you ever have in mind of doing anything with your storyline, let me know. Maybe we can work together on
Yeah,
it.
definitely. Yeah, you see, I was saying because I was looking at your videos and I said, wait a second. His longest videos with Larry Mazda for like 40 minutes, but he did his part two with him. You
Yes,
know? It
yes.
was like, you need 3 hours because Rob May interviewed me for 3 hours. We want to shoot the whole thing. That's another video on there too. You see it. When I
Mhm.
first, when he reached out, I reached out to him, you know, because see what's his name? Jeff made do to sit down
I
on
might have seen
YouTube.
that. I might have, yeah.
All right. He kept calling me a fraud, Jeff made do. And he was going, you're no good, you're bullshit, all this, and that. And when I went on to Rob's show, he came into the room, you know, and he was going, who's this guy? And I says, right over loud, I says, Jeff, I'm the one you kept calling a fraud. And he got mad at me and everything. But he goes, yeah, I heard the name Malizia before. He goes, East Harlem, Pleasant Avenue drug dealer. He goes, but that guy was kind of old. I says, of course. My father would have been 100 years old today, you know?
Oh,
So
good.
yeah.
It's good
I
that I'm good you
thank
straightened.
you for bringing me on.
Oh no, my
What?
pleasure. I'm glad you straightened him out.
Yeah, yeah, but he threw me out of his room. I went in there one day and seen somebody unknown in the chat. Once I put my name in, he typed in, he goes, you're not welcome, get out of my room. I was like, you fucking scumbag. You know, you little prick, you know?
So listen, Patty, we'll definitely keep in touch, like I said. Again, I definitely appreciate you coming on the show. And
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
no, no, my pleasure. And we'll definitely, like I said, stay in touch, and who knows what we can do.
What? Exactly. Okay. All right.